my bathroom. This is episode 9 of the haircutting series. Today, it's all about point cutting. We're going to do a one length, bangs, and a really quick layer. Before we start, make sure you subscribe, like, click the bells and buttons so I can continue to make these videos in my bathroom. We're gonna start by cutting our basic shape. In our case, it's going to be a square one length. This was one of the first cuts that we did, the 0 degree blunt cut, but this time we're point cutting it. So instead of cutting it like this, we're cutting it like this, but we're still following a basic straight line. So we can refine things by point cutting. See how when you comb it out, it's more textured? Or we can actually cut length off, which is what we're going to do today, by also point cutting. So it's still a straight across line, however, it's a textured line. 4 basic quads. I'm using a middle part today. If your client always parts their hair to the right, you're gonna use the right, same as the left. If they're unsure, just use a middle part or where their hair naturally falls. Remember, the hair is always consistent. It's either all the way wet, all the way dry, or consistently in the middle. I'm gonna cut her wet today. Starting in the back, I'm going to take a horizontal subsection, straight line. We're gonna match it on the other side. The first thing we're gonna do is cut our guide at a 0 degree parallel to the floor. So that means everything is straight down from where it lives. It's not up here, it's not way over here. It's if you comb the hair down, where does it want to fall due to gravity? I'm going in with the Amazon shears. We're gonna use a wide portion of the comb and we're combing this hair to where it naturally falls. Taking my crab claws or my pinchers, I'm gonna take a little piece in the middle. This is horizontal, part line horizontal, but I am cutting diagonal. When we point cut, we're just using the tip, ladies, of the shear, just this little part. We're not extending to the belly, just the tip. And we're going in at an angle. I'm going to connect the line. Point cutting. This is going to be my guide for this haircut. Parallel to the floor, going in, short, long, short, long, short, long, point cutting. Now, we're checking for balance. Are these even? Because we don't want one side up here and one side up here. It needs to be a pretty straight line with a staggered effect. Moving forward, we're gonna create another horizontal subsection. It's about a 1/2 inch subsection because we need to be able to see through this. What we do to this side, we're also going to do to this side. We're leaving what we just cut, our basic shape here, at the bottom. This is our new section. Go in with our crab claws and we're gonna see where we need to cut. It's right there. Swing that in the front if you need to. And it's a little bit elevated, a little bit out of 45. It's not all the way down here, it's up here, because I don't want to cut into what I just cut. If we cut the second subsection like we cut the first one, we're always going to be cutting into that shape. We already point cut that and we don't want to recut the same thing, so it has to elevate out a little bit. And it doesn't have to be that exaggerated because the more you elevate something, the more graduation, 45 triangular movements you're going to get. So keep it pretty low, but it's not here at a true 0, it's kind of right here. And then we're just following the line. And when we're point cutting, look how the shears are doing. It's making these little triangles. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Long to short, long to short, long to short. Check for balance. Why you would do point cutting versus a blunt cut, which is just a straight cut, really depends on the look your client's going for and the texture of their hair. If your client has thin, fine hair, you're not going to want to do this. It's going to make it thinner and finer. This is a feathered look. You need some hair to do this. Point cutting is removing weight. Moving on, we're doing the same thing. 1/2 inch subsection, horizontal. Woo, that was a bad horizontal line. What I do here, I do here. Horizontal line. Making sure this is wet. You can see my guide through it, but again, I'm not gonna cut this at 0 degrees. I don't wanna cut in to what I've already cut. So we're gonna have to elevate this a little bit. If I need a guide, just swing one from the side here. Go in, point cut, point, point, point. And it's really up to you how steep you want this to be. You can point cut way up here. That's up to you. Match the other side. Checking these for balance. Are these even? Because she has a slight curl pattern, so I can't just visually look, I have to feel. There's a long piece right there. Horizontal subsection. Match this side. I can see my guide through it. Move that away if that's too much. This is my new subsection. I can take a piece from the bottom just so I can know the length. And you don't have to hold maximum tension. It's really up to you. I like to hold this pretty loose. This is a textured haircut. We're not cutting blunt lines. It's more relaxed, more fun. Match the other side. There's my guide, slightly elevated so I don't cut into this basic shape. And this is so thin, just gonna go ahead and put all of this down. Wide teeth of the comb. Comb this to where it lives. Take up this hair. If I need a guide from the middle, slight elevation, and I'm cutting a straight line, but I'm point cutting it. Before I move to the front, I'm gonna comb this again, and I'm gonna check again for balance, because before we get into the front, we wanna make sure that both of these sides are even. It's straight across, but it's a feathered texture. Even when it's wet, it's not that blunt line, but still at a 1 length. All right, now moving on to the side. Horizontal subsection. You're connecting the line, going in and point cutting, connecting the back. Use the wide teeth of your comb it where it lives, and just point cut it. If you want to crab claw it, you can. I typically don't on this first cut by the ear because the ear sticks out. And if you hold something super tight and cut straight across, you create a hole. But if you comb it with the wide teeth and just let it be, see where it wants to fall, cut, 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 cut. And you can see now it's a continuous line. Everything's at 0 degrees with a texture. Horizontal subsection. Wide teeth of the comb. Where does the hair live? I can see my guide. And again, I'm not going to crab claw this and cut because that cuts into that basic shape, that guide I already cut. So I'm gonna grab my new subsection, just go through, grab this long hair, tug up, the short hair will fall. Take a piece, add to it, and you're slightly elevated. You're not way up here at a 90, you're just a little bit. Point, 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 point. I'm not a wizard, recomb. See the line. Here we go in with another horizontal subsection. Wide teeth of the comb. I see my guide through this, and I'm also getting into where the head is changing shape, so new hair is being added. That's gonna be a completely new line. Grabbing this hair, letting the rest of this fall, taking a guide from the back right here, point cut. When we get to the side here, we don't wanna manipulate this hair in the front to go back. You can, but if you do that, that is going to make this front longer, because anytime you over direct something back and then you cut, when you comb, it's going to be long, going to short. I want this to be cut truly where the hair lives. See how the hair in the front kind of just wants to live right there? Let it live there. Wide teeth in my comb. Most of this is new hair, added in. Cutting it where it lives, and my body position is right in front of what I'm cutting, following the line. So when you look at it, it's a 0 degree line, but it's textured. Look at it compared to the other side. We cut quite a bit off. Moving on to our other side, same thing, horizontal subsection. Comb that out of your way. As long as my back 2 quads are even, my front 2 quads are gonna be even. Wide teeth my comb for this. Relaxed, not a whole lot of tension. Closing my shears, ping, ping, if I'm getting nervous by the ear. Straight line, but point cutting it. Horizontal subsection, following this line. Here, connecting the dots. Wide teeth of the comb, just kind of grasping it a little bit. Not tight, just relaxed. Point, point, point. Horizontal subsection down, I can see what I just cut. Point cut. My thumb is always doing all the work. This is my moving blade. This one is the still blade. It stays still. My thumb is the only part that is cutting this. Ping, ping, ping. Wide teeth of the comb, following this line where the hair lives. Here, it doesn't live back here. Bing, bing. Beautiful, cut any stragglies. Last piece. Consistently wet, even at the root. You don't want the root to be dry and just the ends to be wet. Everything needs to be wet. Wide teeth of the comb. There's just a little bit to be cut, so I'm just gonna refine that, just right there. I'm adding to this where the hair lives. I'm squared up with it. Cut. Now I'm gonna make sure that my client, if she's a real person, her feet, legs, whatever, uncrossed, and I'm checking for balance. Well, your head's like lopsided. I'm checking for balance. Are these even? This one felt a little long. We've poured the foundation, the basic shape of our house. This is a square 1 length. Everything is 1 length, but it's textured, point cut, whatever. Now we need to add on to our house. Put some walls up. I'm gonna show you a basic bang. All right, now if you're in school with me, your book is gonna say to section off the bang area at the apex. The apex is the highest point of the head, where the comb is balancing, right here. Bang or fringe area is most always a triangle subsection. If you did what your book was telling you to do, your bang or fringe area would look like this. If someone did that to me, that would ruin my haircut because I have such fine, thin hair. So you have to really look at your client's head. To me, this is always too much hair. How I prefer to do bangs, let's go back to our middle part. Put the comb on the hairline, right here, into the comb. Where is the comb teetering off, or where is it lifting off? Right here. Do you see that? It's right there. That's a pretty small bang area, but according to her face shape, that's gonna work best. This is where using the mirror is beneficial when you have a client, you're looking in the mirror. It may be a little uncomfortable at first because they may think that you're staring at them, but you're not. Some people just like to stare, okay? Some of your clients, like when you're at the shampoo bowl, they'll be looking at you with those eyes like, close your eyes, Brenda, you're supposed to be relaxing. Comb is lifting off right about here. I'm going to make a triangular subsection. Comb this back, match it. When you look at this, you should be able to see a triangle. If it were to connect the dots, you'd have a triangle. You can cut bangs wet or dry. A lot of people prefer to cut them dry. If you cut them wet, like I'm going to today, just remember that they are going to shrink up. The hair is going to poof, especially if it's curly. So don't cut them super short because when you dry it, she's gonna have a micro bang. She's gonna be mad. I'm going to gather all this towards the middle. Find a reference point on her face. I'm gonna use a tip of her nose and I'm going to cut straight, but I'm point cutting. So this goes towards the middle, this goes towards the middle, and I'm bunching it up together. Going in and point cutting. Bing, bing, bing. It's a lot to cut, really hack at it. I'm point cutting, but I'm cutting straight. I'm not doing a blunt cut. I want this to match the rest of her haircut. All right, now watch what happens. When I release this, we have short that goes gradually long. I'll refine it a little bit more when it's dry, but I like bangs this length because they can kind of swoop them to the side. Now I'm gonna show you a really simple way to blend this all together. We did the foundation, we built the walls, our bangs. Now we need to go through and put the roof on. Put some layers in this to tie this all together. The parietal ridge, the side here, where the comb is leaving the head. If you put the comb at the hairline here, where it's leaving the head, section this off in a horseshoe. Put all this into a clip. This is your length. You do not want to cut layers into this because you'll create holes in your foundation. All this can be layered. I'm gonna split this back in the middle. I'm gonna work on one side at a time. So I've cut the horseshoe in half. This is one side. I'm gonna direct it all the way up. There's my guide, that bang area. This may seem scary. Point cutting all this off. Kind of goes against the rules of hair cutting. Like that section, is it too big? Yeah. The cool part about where we're at in this series though, we've learned all the basic foundational cuts. So now we can kind of go through, we learn the rules, let's break them a little bit. Now, is that gonna be okay for every hair type and texture? No, it's gonna be impossible to cut. But we just put this up and we're point cutting it. When you pull it up, it's a straight line, but because of how we pulled it up at a 180, long going to short. Look at it when you take it down from the side. Here's her bang that we cut. Then we cut that layer in it, that makes it long going to short. Now, if you wanted it to be a little bit more defiant, go in, point cut, take a vertical section, face framing layer, over direct this forward, follow your line. Point cut it, move down. You could also take your shears, the belly of your shears, slide cut it. You're mocking the razor. You're just kind of sliding it down. Look at it from the side. Short layer, gradually going to long, and we did everything by point cutting. So it's really natural. Now to add some extra volume to my client's hair, I'm gonna take a triangle subsection in the back. Doesn't have to be super perfect. And I'm gonna go through, take the belly of my shears, and I'm just going to notch a little bit, okay? That's going to push the hair. Short pushes long, but make sure you leave enough hair on the top or they're gonna be mad because it's gonna start sticking out. but that's going to create volume for them when they're blow drying their hair. Here's what she looks like. Woo, where are you going? This side I just blow dried straight, and this one has a, what is it? Flat iron curl. Thanks for joining me here in the bathroom. Next week, I'm gonna see you for my other series. We're just gonna try some products, rate them 1 through 10 together in the bathroom. If you missed last week, check it out. I used that little rod to do these curls. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below, and I will see you next time for something cool. Something.